Hi, this is Dr. Don, and we have been talking about couples relationships. One of the areas I've worked in professionally as a clinician, a marriage and family therapist now for many years, is many of the couples that come to me have experienced an extramarital affair. And in one of the other videos we did, we talked about the affair syndrome. What is the ramp up of conditions that occur that leads someone into an emotional affair or a sexual affair? In this particular video, we're going to be talking about some of the highlights of recovery from an affair. People will call me on the phone and they'll say, this has happened in our relationship, and can you tell me a little bit about what might have to happen for us to get past this thing? Yeah, we can talk about that. The thing I need to say to you on the front end of this before we start is I'm going to be talking very clinically about some factors that are necessary for recovery, but I want to couch that in a framework of saying that I understand how painful an affair is going to be. The crisis of an affair is, outside of probably the death of a child, the most painful thing that a person can walk through. And there are many marriages that don't recover from this. In fact, what we discover is when there's been an affair and it's come out, it lays the question for both parties up on the table, which is, do I want to continue in this relationship or not? And both people, both the person that had the affair and the partner, are going to have to answer that question separately. I'm going to be working on two different crises. There is the immediate crisis of the affair itself, and we're going to have to navigate and get through that. That's the first piece of work that's going to have to be done. The second piece of work that's going to have to be done is we're going to have to look at recasting and recalibrating the marriage. What I often say to my couples is we're going to have marriage book one, and that's been the marriage up until the affair. There is the crisis of the affair, and then we're going to have marriage book two. And I'm going to be working with you on the crisis of the affair, and then once we navigate that and you do the work, then we rebuild that relationship, and what it looks like down the road is going to be different from what it began at the very, very beginning. And in most cases, that's going to be a good thing, because there were some things in the marriage that needed to be addressed that probably have not been. So what are some of the key factors that we look at? The first key factor that I look at in terms of recovering from an affair is that the affair must end. The affair has to end. And that's a non-negotiable. And it's real easy to write that up on the board, and it's very easy for me to say that, but the reality of that is that's not a given. My experience has been the ending of an affair does not always occur as a clean, neat event. Affairs oftentimes end by bouncing down the runway. They stop, they restart, they stop, they restart, they stop, they restart, and as a result, for the partner, it re-traumatizes them over and over again. It's like, are we married, or are we still in crises? Are we working on this, or are we still in crises? So as a therapist, the thing I say to my clients when they come in is very simply, that relationship has got to end. I can't do marriage therapy with 3 people. And so if you're working with me, I'm very clear about this. There's a strong boundary that says there's no contact. We're not going to bounce down the runway. The affair has got to stop. And we're not going to keep any secrets about that. Healing will not begin until the affair has ended. The second thing that is necessary in affair recovery is time. Time for healing. The person that has had the affair will normally come in and they want to move very quickly through a counseling process and get things back to quote-unquote normal. And that's just not going to happen. This is not going to be a quick process. and it's not going to be an easy process. The more extensive the affair has been, the longer the therapeutic process generally is going to take, because it's going to take longer time for healing to occur. Oftentimes when couples come in and we have our first sessions together, I will say to them, you guys are going to need to work with me together as a couple. We're going to need to work on a weekly basis, and I'm going to need to see you for probably a calendar year. And during that period of time, you're going to do some very hard and difficult work. And when you're through with this, you're going to be glad to say goodbye to me. But we are going to have recast and reformulated your marriage. So we have to give some time to this thing. The third element that's involved in the healing process is trust. Trust. Dr. James Cale says, trust is the ashes from the logs of mutually shared experiences. What he means by that is, when I'm married to someone, we are both doing important, meaningful, significant actions toward one another. That's like tossing a log on the fire. We're each tossing our logs on by the things that we do. The byproduct of the exchange of those actions is trust. Trust is the ashes underneath that campfire. When an affair occurs, it's like taking one of those big wet dry vacs to the fireplace and sucking out all the trust that's there inside the fireplace. So when you see me and I'm working on this relationship, there is no trust left in there. What we've got to do is we've got to burn some new logs. We've got to do some things as a couple, both of us adding logs every day, every week, over an extended period of time, and then the byproduct is going to be the rebuilding of trust in that relationship. And so I'm going to be asking you to do some very, very specific things so that you all recast your relationship and can have trust once again. I don't have a magic wand that I can break the glass in on my wall and pull out and wave over the relationship and suddenly trust is restored. Trust is built on doing the right things over a consistent period of time. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on navigating the crisis of the affair and then rebuilding a marriage that is based on trust that's mutually gratifying to both partners.